So we are living in 21st century, the century that is full with the boom of AI. Everywhere you have AI, AI, AI. But just like human beings, AI also have some disease. And the disease that I'm talking about is amnesia. Every AI has a tool as this disease called amnesia. That means that when you close the tab, when you switch tools, context is gone forever. Sober is a persistent memory layer. This project Sober is actually the most like memory layer across all of them that actually build on Cognee. While I'm walking through with the tech stack and the architecture, uh, making sure in letting you gone through with the UI that we have built. So for the tech stack, we have used Fast API as backend. Along the side, Cognee ECL pipeline that actually use extraction, Cognify and Load, minimize with graph and vector DB. And for the LLM part, we have used Gemini and Grok. Now, let me move you further with the UI. This also shows why we are using Sober. It is memory persistent, self-hosted, live visualization you are able to get, and how it works. You give the context, Cognify, use it, and have a graph over it and store it. And later on, when you recall, it calls the recall function of Cognify, and how this is how I integrated. And later on, even use remember function of that even. Then you can connect to various AI tools, and this is the memory graph it builds with the context that you are giving it to it. So yeah, now your AI don't have this disease that is called amnesia, and it actually stores the context that is given. Your memory stays forever. You can even delete it with the function called forgot in Cognify if you ever want to do so. So now your agent doesn't have to wake up in Vegas actually. Now let me walk you through with the architecture once again. So you give your input. Input could be in the form of local code, GPT export, or the export. For now, we haven't properly integrated because there is no actual public API for the integration. So we're using local like Claude code and exports part where we have to dump the charts and then send in message. And we have created this backend with app.api which actually remembers like the context of it. And then you further go through with the Cognite ECL pipeline that actually extracts the relationships, the entity, and make a map around it, and later on load it to the Cognite graph and vector DB where you actually get the context. Like whenever user is asking a question, it posts that question in chat, routed to chat, and that actually recall this like the DB. And after recalling it recall the query, and after that query filter out from raw chunks or IDs and granted a proper prompt to LLM where it actually make a conversational reply on the UI. That is the whole thing. Now let's start with the live demo. So yeah, hi. Oh, okay. So for the demo we have to log in. I'm using my mail ID. This is the one of the default thing. Whenever you are using your mail ID, it is actually using your, like by default it is using your local cloud code part. And later on, in order to export, you can export in this way. You can ask for like GPT to export your data that Claude. For now I have some export conversation and I'm dumping this fourth one and continue with my memory. So hi, what is my name? It will take some of the time because our API is not like the it is latency is way much. We are working over it, but as of the submission we are gone through with it. Later on you can see that why Sober is actually the one of the things because we are giving live visualization part. You can see here in this memory graph these entities are the message that we actually asked for. This, then this, Bangalore, Karnataka. These were the memories that I've actually asked it previously, and these are the entities. Uh, Later on, these are the text that documents it builds as it's shown. Then this purple one are the records. Sorry, the summaries. Then the blue ones are the chunks, and light green were the types. Actually, you can actually reset and improve and build. So yeah, here's my name. We can ask and then what does that conversation has. Mm, so let me ask which project I am working. So if there is something that the context or like it actually because we know that AI is hallucinating a lot. So in order to improve that part, what we did is like if there's something that I am first time asking and I don't have any context to it, it would say that I don't have that information. So it's like letting the user know that I don't have, like very transparent this is. So that is one of the thing. Till time it is working, I will let you know it's again things. So one of the question that arise is how I actually use like Cognee in it. Yeah, that is one of the question because that is all like implementation works. So I use the remember function from him. Then I remember function in order to remember the context. In order to visualize the graph, I use visualize graph function as well. Later on, in order to answer like the questions, I use recall function, which actually traverse the graph completely, and it's like give you a answer, not just guessed answer. And later on, as I mentioned, we have used forgot function in order to delete your memory if you ever want to do so. Yes. We know that AIs are like stateless, and with Sober, we are trying to make them stateful. So, yeah, as I mentioned, it will take some time. Thank you so much for your patience. Though, as I already mentioned, we are just working more and more in order to improve it. Right now, we are just able to export the files. I'm trying to figure out the ways in order to make it more unified. And if you want, you can do like you can connect with all four of them. Suppose you are working at a project and you started from GPT. Later on, your like context window for that GPT for that day gone, and you want to continue with the same project. And today is the last day. As today is the last day to submit this project, that time it's also the last day. So you have to continue with the other AI tool, and for that you have to give all the context. You can't give just .md file because it's not required that it actually stores the data, the proper data, I would say. So what we can do is like you can shift to Claude, and instead of giving the whole MD file, you just export the conversation, and that conversation just jump it to it, and then you can good to go. And suppose Claude is also exhausted, tokens are also exhausted, you can go to Gemini and go for it. So yeah, this is the part of it. Yeah, thank you so much for watching.